Whenever I tell the story of what I've been through in the past 5 years with the hurt and heartbreak of my marriage, I always have this little moment where I want to pause because part of our journey has been 2.5 years where Art and I were separated. And during that time, there was such a long season where I did not think that our marriage was going to make it. I wanted that. I wanted that to be the end of our story. But there were so many forward steps and then backward steps. And during those steps backwards, it became painfully obvious to both me, my counselor, and the pastors that were helping me navigate that season that my marriage probably wouldn't make it. So my heart has been so tender for people who have walked through very similar journeys and they did not have the reconciliation that eventually, after a long season of time, that Art and I made possible because of both of our choices. Really, I should say that God made possible because it was truly, truly a working of God. But both of us had to be committed to coming back together and doing the hard work of redemption. So my heart is so sensitive that sometimes one person in a marriage can want it with all of their heart. But unless both people are willing to humbly come back together and do the work, sometimes we have to learn to move on when our marriage doesn't. So I wanted to make this video just for you today if you've found yourself in that situation. I've taken from my journal during that season some things that I think really helped me when I was wrestling with how do I move on if my marriage doesn't move on. And I wanted to give you those because I think they will help you as well. Number one, redemption with God is possible even when reconciliation is not. One of the hardest but most encouraging lessons that I've learned is that God can still make our stories beautiful even if the story doesn't end the way we thought it would. We have to be careful to not confuse redemption with reunion. Reunion or reconciliation, it does require, like I said, two people who are willing to come back together and do the hard work. Redemption, though, it's just between you and God. God can redeem your life even if damaged human relationships don't come back together. And you and I can forgive, even if the relationship never gets restored. It's so incredibly freeing to forgive and not have to wait on the other person who may or may not ever be willing or want to talk all of this through. Forgiveness isn't always about doing something for a human relationship, but rather about being obedient to what God has instructed us to do. I'm convinced those who cooperate most fully with forgiveness are those who will dance most freely in the beauty of redemption. Number two, you can only be held accountable for what you actually say and do. You cannot be held accountable for what you don't do and what you don't say. When put in a hard situation where our hearts are so completely broken, we can often find ourselves doing and saying things that betray who we really are. But some advice that I've given to some friends that have been put in this situation is that partner that left you, they may accuse you of being something that you're not. So prove them wrong. If that spouse that left, if they're saying you are verbally abusive, you may have had moments of heightened emotions, of course. When you're walking through emotionally devastating situations, that can sometimes happen, but that doesn't mean that you're an emotionally abusive person. From this day on, prove them wrong. There may have been moments where you didn't handle your finances correctly, or you didn't handle raising your kids the way that you wanted to, or you didn't handle house responsibilities correctly. And I want to say, of course you didn't, because you were probably in a season where you may have been too traumatized. But now, make decisions that prove them wrong. And when I'm saying prove them wrong, I'm not saying it to make a statement about them. It's to make a statement of dignity about you. Reclaiming your dignity and redeeming your integrity is your choice from here on out. Number 3, what happened in your marriage is not a sum total of who you really are. Your marriage was a significant part of your life, but it's not the whole story of your life. And as long as there's still breath in your lungs and life to be lived today, you deserve to live. You deserve to heal. You deserve to move beyond all that's so consuming with all this hurt. And it's crucial to remember that the goal of moving on and pursuing forgiveness isn't perfection, it's progress. The sign of progress isn't the ability to never be hurt by all of this or offended or knocked off balance emotionally. The sign of progress is to let the pain work for you instead of against you. As you regain confidence about who you really are in Jesus, let me share with you something that I think has really helped me. I know that I'm still in pain when I tell the story of what happened, and I just keep recounting all the hurtful details. But I know I'm in the process of healing when that pain and all the painful details, that it turns now into a perspective that I share, less focused on the details and so much more about the experiential wisdom that I've gained. So use what you've been through to develop new thoughts and new processes of working through things, and challenge yourself. Just have one better thought, have one better reaction, have one better way to process, have one better conversation, have one boundary that you lovingly communicate and consistently keep. Have one better choice to not reach for that substance to numb out. Have one better heart pivot toward forgiveness instead of resentment. Have one less day where you stay mad. Have one less hour where you refuse grace. Just make that part of this time and make it better than last time. And then take another step, and then another. And even the most imperfect, messy forgiveness filled with hesitation and resistance is better than letting bitterness have its full way with your heart. You don't have to cooperate with forgiveness perfectly, just progressively for it to be good, so very good. Number 4, to get better, you don't have to know why they hurt you, why they misunderstood you, why they betrayed you, why they didn't love you and protect you or stay like they should have stayed. Their reasons are multi-layered with a mysterious mix of their own pain. They're dealing with some sort of their own heartbreak or their own soul wrestling. And in the end, I don't even think that they really know all the reasons that they made the choices that they did. Here's something I wrote in my journal that gave me permission to move on when I never really knew why all of this happened. This is what I wrote. Knowing why, it's no gift at all if it never makes sense. Maybe they love themselves too much or much too little. Maybe their heart was too disconnected or hard or brittle. Soft hearts don't break or beat or belittle, but broken hearts with unhealed pasts, can often be found traveling wrong paths. They hurt, they sting, they say words they really don't mean. The pain they project is just an effort to protect all that feels so incredibly fragile inside of them. I know, because I've been there. I haven't been divorced, but I know what it's like to be separated for a really long time. And if no one has ever taken time to say this to you, I will. I'm so sorry for how they hurt you. I don't know why they did what they did or why they left when they left. I'm guessing they thought that they were better off just walking away, or they just didn't think about you at all. They couldn't see you like you needed or love you like you pleaded. They just had to go. But answers about why are not what you need. Waiting for something from them just holds you hostage to what the other person might not ever be willing to give. But if you want to move on, if you want to heal, lay down what hurts, it's 100% your choice to make. The steps needed are yours to take. It can be yours when you feel what you feel and think what you need to think and then say what needs to be said. You can move on from here in a good way, in a healthy way. Healing is yours for the taking and yours for the keeping. And number 5, it's time to stop suffering because of what other people did to you. Let me assure your heart of some truths that have helped me. Forgiveness, it is not making light of your pain or saying that what happened to you didn't matter. Forgiveness is making the decision to unhitch your outcome to their decisions. Forgiveness is the way you move on. Forgiveness is not adding on top of our pain a misery too great to bear. It's exchanging our bound up resentment for a life-giving freedom, thus making the mystery of the workings of God too great to deny. It is a complicated grace that uncomplicates our blinding pain and helps us see beautiful again. And that's what I want for you, friend. That is what can happen when you decide to move on, even when your marriage doesn't. You can do this. I know you can. So ask God today, what's my next step? And then take it.